Hey guys, today I'm gonna do a quick review of a Suzuki GS500. Specifically, it's a 2004 GS500F. I believe it's the first year that the GS500 came out with the full fairing. This particular one, as you can see, is a yellow GS500, which is fairly rare because I think 2004 was the only year they brought out the yellow ones. So when I got it, I was pretty pleased that I got a fairly rare color. It was in pretty good nick too. Picked it up about 3 months ago in July, and the bike's run really well. Not a single problem with it. So this review is just mainly, just for people who are just starting off getting a bike. Who've probably never ridden one, looking for a good learner bike to start off on. Especially here in Australia with the restrictions and all, it can be a bit confusing as to what learner bike to get. To be honest, with the learner selection, there's really not that much of a difference when you compare it to some of the CBR 600s, the R6s, the GSXR 750s of the world. Within the Lamb's bikes, there's really the power is really negligible compared to what you can get on an open license. That being said, this being a 500cc or 487, strictly speaking, it's definitely a cut above, the 250s or the 300s. It's a heavy bike, about 183 kilos dry, 200 kilograms fully fueled up. So it is pretty heavy, even compared to a 600 or even 1,000. That being said, it's got 47 horsepower, which puts it up, towards the upper end of the restriction category. It'll do 0 to 100 in about 5.5 seconds, which is pretty much, which is quicker than pretty much any 250, except maybe the 250RR, probably around the same as that. The newer Kawasaki 300s and all that, it's definitely quicker than that. Once you get to about 80 kilometers plus, the extra displacement really shows itself. So those are some of the positive points. A few cons though is because of the weight and also the relative size. If you're a smaller person, probably weighing under 70 kilos or so, or if you're like a smaller girl, perhaps you will struggle with it initially. If you're an experienced rider, of course, it wouldn't really matter. But for someone starting off, you could potentially have some problems, especially with low-speed maneuvers and such. This wasn't my first bike. My first bike was, the first bike I rode was a CBR 125. It was a very small bike, very light bike, and I'm about 6 feet, 75 kilos or so, and so that was very easy to tow around for me, and it was really too small for me. So when I got this, it was a really good fit. I'm not a big bloke, pretty slender actually, but for my size and for my approximate weight, it fit me really well. While I'm sitting down, can place my feet firmly on the floor, not a single problem. Weight-wise, it's also alright. If you're taller, you get more leverage. So if the bike does tip over, your long legs will save you, and the bike, for that matter. That being said, one particular day I came in pretty hot into a traffic light. Light turned red, braked as I did with the CBR 125, hit a small bump. The bike nearly went all the way down to the right hand side. Caught it, luckily, but I just didn't have the strength to pull it back up. I refused to let the bike go, so I was really straining getting it back up, and pretty much jammed my back for a few months. Wasn't too fun. but it gave me an idea of how heavy the bike is. It's pretty much dead weight. Once it starts falling, it's going down. In terms of working on the bike, it's fairly straightforward. You know, doing your oil change, filter changes, they're very quick jobs, half an hour at the most. You know, changing spark plugs, two on either side, not a problem. You know, little mods here and there, also pretty easy to do. Like, I changed my dash lights, the original bulb had blown on the speedo side, so I changed that out. I'll probably won't be able to see it in this light, but I'll show it a bit later on in the vid. This Ventura rack that came with the bike when I got it, great addition, really helpful. You know, just get a few ocky straps or something, put whatever you want, strap it on. And for those, you know, considering pillioning, you know, getting it to, if you're having a friend or whatever, you got your green peas. I'm on my reds at the moment. If you got your green peas or full license, very comfortable to pillion on. Not recommended to lean on this, but I pillioned on my own bike before and I've leaned on it, not a problem. The seat's a bit tough, but it's good in a way. It's kept its form. Overall, a very comfortable bike. It's a carburetted model, of course, as all the GS's, which some people, you know, those looking to buy new bikes don't particularly like. Even the newer GS500s, they're not fuel injected. But I've not really had a problem with that. You know, people are always saying, you know, they want ABS, traction control, you know, different modes. But it's, in my opinion, it's really not necessary, especially if you're learning. You need to learn how to ride a bike as much, you know, just like you do a car. See, if you're driving a car, you know, when you're learning to park for the first time, you don't want to be using park assist. You want to learn how to park. Same with this, you know. It's very simple technologically, relatively to the new ones, I should say. And it'll really teach you how to ride. For example, this instrument cluster here, it's very basic, it's very simple. You got your speeder, you got your tacho, you got the low oil light, which should never come up if you're treating your bike properly, neutral light, indicators, high beam. That's it. No fuel gauge, no temperature gauge. Fuel gauge, really not much of a problem because, as you can see here, you got the fuel Petcock, as they call it. It's got 3 settings: on, prime, and reserve. So you keep it on all the time. When your bike starts running out, it'll start stuttering or it'll stall if you're not quick enough. You just simply turn it up to reserve. You've got another 5 liters or so remaining. Got what, roughly about, I'd say 100 Ks or so to fill up, but you want to fill up a bit before that. So, you know, there's really no need for a fuel gauge. One thing would have been nice was would have been a temperature gauge, because this is not liquid cooled, it's air cooled. Don't know if you can see here. Let me see if I can get a good vantage point. The radiator is very thin. It's got no liquid flowing through it as others might have. So it's air cooled. Not had a problem so far with overheating or anything, but it would be nice to know what the temperature temperature is while riding. Let's see what else we can cover. Oh yeah, another important point is filling up. A lot of people think that just because you own a bike, you know, if you're filling up 91 or E10 in the car, if you're getting a bike you need to fill up 98 or 95 or whatever. That's definitely not true at all. The type of fuel you need is largely dependent on the compression ratio of an engine. The GS500 has a compression ratio of roughly 9.1, something along those lines, which means, well, if you're in Australia, you only realistically need to fill up 91. Filling up 98 is not going to make you go faster. It's not going to make you cool. It's not going to get you into the MotoGP or anything like that. And in fact, I filled this up with 91, 95, and 98. 98 and 95 on certain occasions when they've run out of 91. And to be honest, the best mileage I've found for this bike has been when I filled up with 91. It of course depends on your riding style as well. mileage varies. For me, I usually use it to get to uni and back. I'll do roughly 300 Ks on the main tank, and reserves another 100 Ks or so. But I've done 350, 360 on the main tank before, so you know, you roughly get about you will get over 20 kilometers per liter, which would be roughly what, about 4.5 liters per 100 Ks or so. So it's, you know, it's economical compared to a car, but being a 500cc, it does consume a bit, especially if you're you know, throttle happy. This particular bike, you know, I'm very happy with it. It's in very, very good condition. There's really no damage to it, except a few scratches that was there from the previous owner when I bought it. You know, he's scratched it on something or the other, on the mirror as well. It's very faint, very minor. And I've only seen one of the yellow scheme before, and he just blitzed past me. Would have liked to talk to that guy, but didn't. When I got it, it came with Pirelli Sport Demons. Very good tire in my opinion. Not had a problem with it. Really get. Oh, what the hell? There's a nail in my tire. Well, it's always good to find that out. Anyways, you can see I've used the tire fairly consistently all the way around. The chicken strips are fairly minor. They're not that big, less than an inch or so. Hopefully I'll wear that down sooner or later. Well, I think that's pretty much all. Oh yeah, here's another little con, or it's really a minor inconvenience. The clutch Freeplay, as in the vertical height, is very loose in my opinion. Apparently it's fairly normal in all the GS's, but this kind of movement, it's not to my liking, especially if I'm not wearing gloves. I got fairly thin fingers, so when you're grabbing the clutch and you hit a bump or something, you know, you're kind of lifting it up and pulling it. Over time, you'll really start to separate it out more and more. But this time, I'm hopefully going to remove the clutch perch, put in an SV650 clutch perch, put a new clutch cable in, and you know, get some custom levers. Some cheap Chinese knockoffs of ASV should do. Not really a big issue. It's just that this up and down movement's not very nice. Clutch distance also could be a problem for someone with small hands. The lever distance for me, it's alright, but this thing's just pissing me off endless. Before I go, I'll probably just show you the lights quickly. The dash change I did. Let me just close this garage door. Oh, there we go. Put a blue one here and a purple one here. Light change is pretty easy. You'll find it on the GS wiki, GS Twins wiki. Also plenty of help you can find on the GS forums. Very knowledgeable guys over there, probably even more than the makers themselves, Suzuki. Plenty of tutorials and videos for this bike. So if you ever have a problem, you can always, you know, fix it up yourself. Plenty of parts for this bike because it's so popular and it's not changed much over the years. Just wait till this door opens. So quick recap. So GS500, about 180 kilos dry or so, probably about 170 if it's the naked version. Got about 47 horsepower, 20 liter tank, big tank, probably 0 to 100 in about 5.5 seconds, so more than quick enough, pretty much more than like 95% of the cars out there. Really holds its own, especially against other Lambs bikes. Good on the twisties. Very easy to maneuver around. The top speed's about 180. Found that out. It's my personal best top speed. First time I ever tried it. Gets there pretty quickly, actually. Although one thing is, it will burn a bit of oil if you're going to be, you know, hanging around 7, 8, 9 the whole day. So you might want to put a bit of thicker oil in it if that's what if you're planning to thrash it. But I'm currently using 10W40 oil. I might switch to a 20W. Show you quickly the oil that I'm using. It's a Penrite 10W40. About $45 for the bottle. Bit pricey, but look, oil changes are something very important to bikes, more so than cars. So you want to be changing it every 5,000 kilometers, 6,000 kilometers, somewhere around then. And change your oil filter as well when you're changing the oil. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now, and hopefully put up another review of it later, further down the line. Might even put up a few videos of doing a few wheelies and whatnot. Alright, catch you guys later.